Hello and welcome to this week's College Planning Tip of the Week. My name is Nancy Steenson with Steenson College Coaching, and with me today, as always, is Jack Wang. Jack, question for you about the FAFSA. If a family wants to add more than the 10 that are allowed, how do they do it? And what are some things to watch out for?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nancy. And there's a lot of confusions on how to do this. So the short version is parents or the family fills out the FAFSA, adds the first 10 schools because the FAFSA can handle 10 schools at a time, submits the FAFSA. Once the FAFSA is processed, and I emphasize process past tense, which can take up to 3 to 5 days, then the family can then go back into the FAFSA, delete the 10 schools, the original 10, and put in up to 10 more, and then resubmit, and you repeat that process on and on. Now, I'm so glad that you brought this up is because there's several misconceptions going on around the internet about sort of this process. So as I just described it, it's literally that simple. But some people have been sharing information saying like, no, you can't do that. You have to wait until the college downloads your information or some other things that they have to do, which is simply not correct. So the way that the system works behind the scenes, I'll just cover this at the very high level. When a family submits their FAFSA, it goes to what's called the Central Processing System, CPS. Think of it like a giant Google Drive in the cloud, right, in the sky for your financial information, the FAFSA information. So that CPS generates the EFC, the expected family contribution, and it generates what's called the student aid report or SAR. So when the SAR is generated, that's when it's processed, and that gets sent back to the family. But behind the scenes for the school side, this is what people don't see. The central processing system generates something called an ISIR, ISIR, Institutional Student Information Report, which is the college's version of the SAR. Schools don't have any control over this. It is automatically sent. So there's a myth out there saying, well, you have to wait. You can't take schools off the FAFSA to add more schools until the school downloads your information. That is not true because the ISIR is sent automatically. Whether the school is ready to look at it or not, it's gone. Okay. From there, financial aid offices use various pieces of software to actually analyze and then put together financial aid awards. Now, some people have said that they've called financial aid and said, oh, and the financial aid person has said, oh, we haven't downloaded it yet. That could be true, but not in the way the parents think. Remember, that ISIR information has already gone to the school, but the financial aid officer might not have then put that information into the software. So the parents are hearing, oh, we didn't download it yet, thinking, oh, that information is not at the school. The financial aid officer is thinking, well, we haven't downloaded yet because it's just simply not in the software, but it is already at the school. There are times, of course, where things go wrong. Some common instances. One is families go into the FAFSA before it's processed. And so while it's still processing, remove the schools, put on new schools. What happens is then the original 10 won't get the FAFSA. That's one common error. The second common error is parents did the wrong year on the FAFSA. So if you're a high school senior today in the fall of 2021, you are filling out the FAFSA for 2022/23. But there is a tab there when you first start out for 21/22. And oftentimes I've seen families click on that one because they're thinking, well, it's the current academic year, right? Like this is what we're in. But that's the wrong year. Another error, it's less common, but I've seen it, is that the parents may have sent the FAFSA to the wrong school. And what I mean by that is they didn't mistake ABC University for XYZ University. Okay, that's not what I mean. But rather, sometimes at schools, they'll have the undergraduate version and then the graduate version. So there are schools, I'll say University of whatever as one entry when you're looking for schools. And then the next entry will be University of whatever medical school. And I know in the rush to do this, if you're not careful, I've seen it happen where parents will check off the medical school version, even though they meant to check off the undergraduate school version. So those are some of the common errors. So, but the bottom line is if families need to add more schools beyond the 10 to FAFSA, they can do so, and it is a very easy process. The key is waiting until the FAFSA is processed, ED, and they get notified either by email, which is typically to the student, or they can log back into the FAFSA system, and they'll actually see right now, I just did this earlier, it's like a little green button that'll say process successfully. Once they see that, the link right below is you can change and add school. Very simple. So that's how it works. So that's why, but because people don't always understand the behind the scenes, that's why there's so much confusion.
That clarifies a lot. Thank you so much, Jack, for sharing that. I'm sure that will be really helpful information to parents who are, it's so easy to be confused by the process. So thank you for the clarity. Thank you everyone for joining us this week on College Planning Tip of the Week. We'll see you next time.